That's Marla, yeah. That's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to?
No.
Here.
Marla Maples' marriage to Donald Trump had all the makings of a headline-grabbing spectacle: glitz, drama, and endless media attention. But what really happened right before their split? That's where things take a surprising turn. Even though their wedding was the stuff of tabloid gold, their relationship was far from picture perfect, and a major event pushed things to the breaking point. What was the final straw? Was it a personal choice, a long brewing issue, or something no one saw coming? In this video, we'll take you behind the scenes to unravel the shocking truth about how it all came crashing down. Stick around as we dive into the moment that changed everything and made Marla walk away from her high-profile life with Trump. Trust us, you won't want to miss this jaw-dropping twist. Marla Maples' journey with Donald Trump began like something out of a movie, except this one would end up splashed across every tabloid in America. No one knows exactly when they first met, but it's widely believed they crossed paths in the glitzy social scene of New York City. Marla, an ambitious actress and model from the small town of Cohutta, Georgia, had big dreams of making it in the entertainment world. What she didn't expect was to get caught up with one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. For Trump, who was always surrounded by models and celebrities, Marla wasn't just another pretty face. She had an undeniable charm, that southern warmth, and an energy that made her stand out. Their connection quickly turned into something deeper, something impossible to ignore. The only problem? Trump was still married to Ivana, and despite his attempts to keep things discreet, whispers of his flirtation with Marla spread like wildfire. By the late 80s, socialites and media insiders were buzzing about their relationship, speculating on what was really happening behind the scenes. Trump, ever the showman, enjoyed the attention, but kept his cards close to his chest. Meanwhile, Marla found herself in a complicated situation, romantically linked to a married man whose entire life was already a public spectacle. The allure of Trump's world, his wealth, status, and larger-than-life persona, was undeniable, but stepping into it meant stepping into chaos. As their relationship intensified, keeping it a secret became impossible. Trump and Marla started showing up together at elite events, fueling the media's obsession. Before long, their affair became the biggest gossip story around, with tabloids dissecting every move. The tension in Trump's marriage with Ivana was no longer just speculation. It was obvious. And Marla, whether she intended to or not, had officially become part of one of the decade's biggest scandals. For Marla, meeting Trump wasn't just about romance. It was an entry into a whole new world, one filled with luxury, power, and excess. But it also came with a level of scrutiny she never could have imagined. What started as a whirlwind love affair turned into a full-blown tabloid sensation, defining her public image for years to come. While the details of their first encounter remained a mystery, the fallout from their relationship was anything but. What followed was one of the most talked-about love triangles of the decade, a media storm that would only grow wilder as time went on. With the secret out, it was only a matter of time before everything erupted into public view, leading to one of the most infamous confrontations in celebrity history. The moment Ivana Trump and Marla Maples came face-to-face for the first time was nothing short of explosive. It was December 1989, and the Trump family was on a ski trip in Aspen, Colorado. The only problem? Donald had secretly brought his mistress to the same resort. What happened next would go down as one of the most dramatic moments in Trump family history. Ivana later described the encounter in her memoir, Raising Trump, revealing how she came across Marla in a way she never expected. Instead of avoiding her, Marla walked right up to her and made a bold, jaw-dropping statement. "I'm Marla and I love your husband, do you?" That was all it took for tensions to explode. Ivana, caught completely off guard, was furious. Her response? A blunt and fiery, "Get lost, I love my husband." It was a moment of pure disbelief and rage, a confrontation that summed up the emotional storm surrounding their tangled love triangle. From that point on, there was no hiding the affair. The media had a field day, and Trump's marriage to Ivana was officially crumbling. But this was just the beginning of a scandal that would follow all three of them for years to come. Ivana later admitted that the encounter left her completely shaken. And looking back, she realized that moment was when she knew her marriage to Donald Trump was over. In her own words, the whole situation was unladylike, and she resented the humiliation of being cheated on so openly. The tension between the two women was undeniable, with Ivana struggling to come to terms with the fact that her husband's affair was now out in the open for the world to see. That explosive confrontation marked a major turning point in Trump's affair with Marla. Up until that moment, Marla had been part of the usual rumors and speculation surrounding Donald's high-profile life, but this showdown changed everything. Her bold admission of love wasn't just a personal declaration. It became a public spectacle, a moment that symbolized just how much attention Trump's private life was getting. It was also the first time Marla had to face Ivana directly, standing in front of the woman whose marriage was being torn apart by the affair. With that public clash, there was no turning back. The cracks in Trump's marriage were impossible to ignore, and the media circus around the scandal only grew bigger. The infamous Aspen showdown set the stage for what would be one of the most chaotic years for the Trump family. Just a few months later, in early 1990, Donald officially began divorce proceedings, bringing his 13-year marriage to an end. It wasn't just any divorce. It was a headline-dominating, scandal-fueled, tabloid-perfect drama, with Ivana and Marla at the center of it all. Front pages around the world were plastered with their names, making their messy love triangle one of the biggest stories of the decade. As Marla's presence in Trump's life became more permanent, the impact of that fateful Aspen moment never faded. It remained a glaring reminder of the deep divide in Trump's personal life, and just how much Marla had changed everything. The divorce itself was nothing short of a media spectacle. When Donald Trump split from Ivana in 1990, it was one of the most publicized breakups in history, and Marla Maples was right at the heart of it. Even before the marriage was officially over, Marla had already been labeled as his mistress, making her a key player in the controversy. As the divorce battle got uglier, the media zeroed in on every little detail, and Marla found herself unwillingly dragged even deeper into the storm. Then, in February 1990, just months before Donald filed for divorce, a bombshell report in the New York Post sent the scandal into overdrive. The newspaper claimed that Marla had told someone that being with Donald was the best sex she'd ever had. That one quote was enough to set off a wildfire of gossip. The story was so sensational that it even stole the spotlight from major global news, including Nelson Mandela's release from prison. Overnight, Marla went from being a side character in Trump's personal drama to a full-blown tabloid sensation. That headline was her first real taste of the public eye, and it wasn't exactly the introduction she had hoped for. From that moment on, Marla became more than just a woman caught in an affair. She was now a central figure in the never-ending soap opera that was Trump's personal life. While she had feelings for Donald, navigating their relationship under the glare of relentless media scrutiny was something she hadn't anticipated. The divorce was still ongoing, and the world was watching, eager to see if she would officially take Ivana's place. The backlash against Marla was intense. She was no longer just the other woman. She was a walking headline, the face of one of the most talked-about scandals of the decade. Some saw her as the woman who had stolen Ivana's husband, while others simply watched in fascination as the saga unfolded. No matter where she turned, Marla was in the spotlight, caught in a whirlwind of judgment, speculation, and pressure. What started as an affair had transformed into a full-blown media obsession, and whether she liked it or not, Marla was now playing a leading role in one of the most unforgettable love triangles of the era. As the media frenzy raged on, Marla Maples found herself dealing with more than just the public spectacle of Donald Trump's divorce. She was also grappling with her own personal struggle. Everywhere she turned, she was scrutinized, not only for her involvement in Trump's crumbling marriage, but for who she was as a person. With Ivana and Donald's relationship falling apart in the most public way possible, Marla became the subject of heated debate. To some, she was the glamorous new love interest of a billionaire, while to others, she was the ultimate homewrecker. But beyond the headlines and the relentless press coverage, Marla was caught in an impossible situation. She wanted to continue her relationship with Donald, but the tidal wave of criticism was overwhelming. The intense media attention shaped the way she saw herself. blurring the line between her true identity and the one projected onto her by the world. She was simultaneously vilified and admired, and that contradiction created enormous pressure. It didn't just impact her personally, it also affected her relationship with Trump. She was forced to navigate the tricky landscape of fame, personal values, and the uncertain future she faced in the public eye. Years after their scandalous affair began, Donald and Marla finally made it official in December 1993 with a wedding fit for royalty. The grand event was held at the Plaza Hotel in New York City, with over 1,000 guests, including celebrities, politicians, and powerful business figures. Trump, known for his love of excess, spared no expense. With cameras flashing and headlines swirling, Marla stepped into the next phase of her life, transforming from the controversial mistress into Donald Trump's second wife. But beneath the glitz and glamour of their highly publicized wedding, a far less romantic reality loomed. A prenuptial agreement that would later become a source of major tension between them. Marla later revealed that she had been under intense pressure to sign the prenup before the wedding. She reluctantly agreed, assuming they would revisit the terms later on. But that conversation never happened. In time, she testified that she felt coerced into signing the agreement, a deal that heavily favored Trump. The prenup stated that if they divorced after 5 years, Marla would receive a settlement of $1 million, plus an additional $1 million to purchase a home. While this may have seemed generous to outsiders, it paled in comparison to Ivana's divorce settlement, which totaled a staggering $25 million in cash and property. The stark contrast between the two agreements wasn't lost on anyone, least of all Marla. Donald had learned his lesson from his costly divorce from Ivana and wasn't about to make the same financial mistake again. He structured his agreement with Marla in a way that would ensure his wealth remained intact if their marriage ever fell apart. While Marla wasn't focused on the money itself, she couldn't ignore the imbalance of power the prenup created. As time went on, the document became a lingering reminder of the economic disparity between them, adding to the growing strain in their marriage. Marla later admitted that she hadn't fully understood the weight of what she had agreed to at the time. But as the years passed, the prenup became a symbol of the larger issues in their relationship. She had hoped they would revisit the terms, but that day never came. The trust between them began to erode, and the agreement served as a constant source of tension. Many speculated that the prenup was one of the key factors that drove a wedge between them, a sign that their marriage had started on shaky ground. Despite their lavish wedding, the unresolved financial imbalance between them only deepened the cracks in their relationship. Over time, their differences, both personal and professional, became impossible to ignore. By 1997, they had officially separated, and in 1999, they finalized their divorce. No matter how extravagant their wedding had been, the underlying financial disputes foreshadowed the greater challenges that would eventually bring their marriage to an end. But while their extravagant wedding seemed like the beginning of a grand new chapter, the cracks beneath the surface were already forming. Financial tensions and unspoken conflicts quietly worked against them, slowly unraveling their marriage from within. From the early days, the financial struggles and power imbalances between Donald Trump and Marla Maples became impossible to ignore. Their relationship may have been sealed with a lavish ceremony, but beneath the surface there was a stark contrast in their worlds. Marla, raised in the small town of Cohutta, Georgia, suddenly found herself navigating life as the wife of a billionaire tycoon. Trump's business empire remained the centerpiece of his existence, leaving little space for the kind of emotional connection Marla longed for. As he fixated on expanding his influence and securing his fortune, she found herself feeling increasingly isolated and disconnected. A major source of strain between them was the prenuptial agreement Trump had insisted on before their wedding. Marla later admitted that she had signed the document under pressure, trusting that they would revisit the terms once their marriage had settled. But that conversation never happened. The agreement was ironclad, designed to protect Trump from facing another costly divorce like the one he had endured with Ivana. The financial terms were clear. If Marla and Donald divorced within 5 years, she would receive just $1 million, a fraction of what Ivana had walked away with. This financial disparity loomed over their relationship, fueling resentment and conflict. Beyond money, the emotional gap between them became just as significant. While Marla focused on personal growth, spirituality, and values like kindness and faith, Trump remained single-minded in his pursuit of power and success. Their opposing priorities created a widening chasm, making it clear that their relationship was built on fundamentally different visions for the future. Marla yearned for emotional depth and connection, while Trump was consumed by his ambitions, leaving her to grapple with loneliness despite being married to one of the most powerful men in the world. The struggle for dominance in their relationship wasn't just financial, it was also about control over their own lives and the future of their marriage. Trump's relentless drive for perfection and success bled into their relationship, where his desire for control clashed with Marla's hope for mutual respect and emotional fulfillment. To Marla, their life together felt more like two parallel paths, rather than a shared journey. And this disconnect ultimately became one of the driving forces behind their split. With time, the financial tension from the prenup, combined with their vastly different goals and values, chipped away at the foundation of their marriage, making it clear that their union was never built to last. One factor that did play a significant role in their decision to marry was the birth of their daughter, Tiffany Trump. When Tiffany was born in October 1993, it shifted the dynamics between Donald and Marla. Up until that point, their relationship had already been strained by Trump's unrelenting focus on his business empire and the growing emotional distance between them. But Tiffany's arrival seemed to change something for Donald, prompting him to reassess his priorities. Shortly after her birth, he proposed to Marla, a decision that marked a pivotal moment in their complicated relationship. While Tiffany's birth was a defining moment, Trump's initial reaction to Marla's pregnancy was far from what she had hoped. In an interview on The Howard Stern Show, he openly admitted that when Marla told him she was expecting, his first response was, "Excuse me, what happened?" A reaction that made it clear he hadn't planned on becoming a father with her. Marla, however, saw things differently, calling it the most beautiful day of our lives. This stark contrast in their perspectives was an early sign of the deeper issues that would eventually strain their marriage. Marla envisioned a future rooted in family and emotional connection, while Trump's priorities lay elsewhere. Though his initial response lacked enthusiasm, Tiffany's arrival seemed to have a softening effect on Trump. A major event around this time also played a role in shaping his decision: the 1993 Long Island Railroad shooting, which occurred just months before Tiffany's birth. According to Marla, the tragedy made Trump reconsider what truly mattered, pushing him to propose. These combined factors, becoming a father and experiencing a moment of reflection, led him to finally take the step toward marriage. While this may have been a period of introspection for Trump, Marla had her own reasons for wanting to get married. Looking back, she admitted that her strong desire for a family influenced her decision, even though their relationship was already filled with tension. Trump remained focused on his public image and career, while Marla longed for a deeper, more emotionally fulfilling partnership. The birth of their daughter changed the trajectory of their relationship, leading Trump to present himself as a more conventional family man. But while Tiffany's arrival marked a shift, it didn't resolve the underlying issues that would eventually pull them apart. Their differences extended far beyond just their relationship. They were rooted in the very fabric of who they were. Marla Maples and Donald Trump came from two vastly different worlds, and those contrasting backgrounds became one of the most significant fractures in their marriage. Raised in the small town of Cohutta, Georgia, Marla grew up with strong values centered on faith, kindness, and community. Her upbringing was grounded in relationships and emotional connection. Trump, on the other hand, was born into wealth and raised in a family that valued ambition, competition, and business success above all else. This stark contrast in their foundations created a deep divide in their values and life goals. Marla longed for a relationship built on honesty, closeness, and spiritual growth, but Trump's priorities revolved around building his empire and securing his legacy. While she craved emotional intimacy, he remained consumed by his business dealings, often prioritizing his financial interests over their personal life. She was raised to believe in love and emotional partnership, while Trump approached relationships with a more transactional mindset. As time went on, this emotional disconnect became impossible to ignore, leading to growing frustration on both sides. Their age difference also played a significant role in the challenges they faced. With 17 years between them, they had drastically different perspectives on life and relationships. Trump, deeply entrenched in the corporate world and the art of maintaining power, was at a stage where success and control were his primary motivations. Marla, being younger, sought a partner who would provide emotional support and help her grow spiritually. But rather than finding the nurturing relationship she had hoped for, she found herself in a dynamic that felt more like a business arrangement than a true partnership. In the end, their opposing upbringings, values, and expectations created an irreparable divide. They were not building a shared life. They were living two separate ones, bound by circumstance but ultimately drifting further apart. The emotional and philosophical gaps between them proved too wide to bridge, and their marriage was doomed to fail. Marla's emotional needs remained unfulfilled, and the constant tension caused by her values clashing with Trump's drained her over time. Even she admitted that they eventually realized they weren't making each other better. Their vastly different outlooks on life, love, and success created an irreparable rift, and after years of struggling with these issues, they arrived at 1997. Their contrasting backgrounds, priorities, and aspirations played a major role in the eventual breakdown of their marriage. One of the most explosive moments in their relationship came in 1996, when a scandal involving Marla and one of Trump's bodyguards sent shockwaves through the media. The incident took place on a Florida beach at Trump's private Mar-a-Lago estate. A police officer on duty at 4 a.m. reportedly found Marla under a lifeguard stand with Spencer Wagner, one of Trump's bodyguards. Wagner initially told the officer he was alone, but moments later Marla emerged and identified herself as Trump's wife. This unexpected encounter immediately raised eyebrows, fueling speculation about a possible romantic relationship between them. The news spread like wildfire, making headlines across the country and intensifying the already growing cracks in Marla and Trump's marriage. When the media caught wind of the situation, the scandal became one of the biggest tabloid stories of the year. News outlets, talk shows, and gossip columns covered it relentlessly, dissecting every detail. Marla and Wagner both denied any wrongdoing, with Marla calling the situation a misunderstanding and Wagner insisting that nothing illegal had occurred. Despite their efforts to downplay the situation, the media refused to let go of the story, and speculation only grew. The situation took an even more dramatic turn months later when Trump suddenly fired Wagner. The timing of his dismissal only fueled suspicions, making it seem as if there was more to the story than either Marla or Wagner had admitted. What followed only made the scandal even more sensational. After being dismissed, Wagner changed his story, telling a tabloid that he and Marla had, in fact, shared a passionate encounter on the beach. He claimed their emotions got the best of them and they had sex that night, directly contradicting everything he and Marla had previously said. This shocking revelation only added fuel to the fire, leaving the public even more curious about the true nature of their relationship. The scandal's fallout extended beyond Marla and Trump's marriage. Wagner's former wife, Mary Miller, gave multiple interviews insisting that her ex-husband had repeatedly assured her he never had an affair with Marla, and that the entire situation had been blown out of proportion. However, she also accused Marla of behaving recklessly during her visits to Mar-a-Lago, claiming that she often sought opportunities for more private encounters. The controversy tarnished Wagner's reputation, and the negative attention took a toll on his life. In the years that followed, he struggled with unemployment and personal issues, and in 2012 he passed away due to a drug overdose. Meanwhile, the media frenzy surrounding the scandal put even more pressure on Marla and Trump's already crumbling relationship, ultimately pushing them closer to divorce. From the moment Marla Maples entered Trump's life, the media played a central role in shaping their relationship's public narrative. What started as a secret affair quickly became front-page news, with tabloids, talk shows, and relentless paparazzi attention turning their love life into a public spectacle. For Marla, the sudden media attention was overwhelming. Once an aspiring actress with a relatively low profile, she became a household name, not for her work, but for her connection to one of the most high-profile businessmen in the world. The media often portrayed Marla as the other woman, blaming her for the downfall of Trump's first marriage. Over time, however, public perception of her shifted. Sometimes she was seen as a devoted wife trying to hold her marriage together. Other times, she was portrayed as someone trapped in a world far removed from what she had envisioned. The relentless scrutiny made it nearly impossible for Marla and Trump to have a normal life. Every disagreement, every appearance, and every personal struggle became headline news. Marla later admitted that the constant media pressure put an unbearable strain on their marriage. She found herself struggling not only with the expectations that came with being Trump's wife, but also with the speculation surrounding her motives for marrying him. Trump, on the other hand, had long been comfortable in the public eye, and even used media attention to his advantage. He thrived on shaping the narrative, often leveraging press coverage to boost his business ventures. However, even he could not prevent their private matters from becoming tabloid fodder. The never-ending cycle of rumors and scandals only deepened the cracks in their relationship. Their marriage ultimately became an example of how media attention can intensify the challenges of high-profile relationships. The pressure of constantly being watched, combined with their personal and financial conflicts, accelerated their split. Marla, who once embraced the glamour of being with Trump, eventually yearned for a quieter life away from the flashing cameras. Would their relationship have played out differently without the media circus surrounding them? No one can say for certain, but there is no doubt that the constant spotlight contributed to their marriage's downfall. Once the media frenzy died down and the dust settled, Marla was left to carve out a new life on her own terms, far away from the glare of the public eye. Following her divorce from Trump in 1999, Marla stepped away from the limelight to focus on raising their daughter, Tiffany Trump. She embraced motherhood, frequently describing her bond with Tiffany as the most important aspect of her life. Unlike the days when she was constantly under scrutiny, Marla chose a more private existence, shielding her daughter from the kind of harsh criticism that had defined her years with Trump. While the media had once been fascinated with her relationship with the billionaire businessman, Marla shifted her priorities to providing Tiffany with a stable and loving environment. Aside from dedicating herself to motherhood, Marla also pursued other career opportunities after her divorce. She remained active in entertainment, taking on occasional roles in films and television. Though her acting career was never as high profile as Trump's business empire, it allowed her to stay involved in the industry on her own terms. Marla also found herself drawn to wellness and spirituality, a passion that became even more important to her after her marriage ended. She immersed herself in practices centered around mindfulness, personal growth, and inner peace. This journey led her to speak publicly about the importance of living a balanced and fulfilled life, something she believed was missing during her time with Trump. Even outside the public eye, Marla remained committed to philanthropic efforts. She became actively involved in charitable work, lending her voice to causes close to her heart, including children's initiatives and women's empowerment. Her dedication to wellness and humanitarian efforts helped her establish a life that was no longer defined by her past relationship. Marla has often credited her faith and spirituality for helping her find clarity and direction after her divorce, allowing her to seek fulfillment beyond the shadow of the Trump name. After years of whispers, rumors, and endless speculation about her relationship with Donald Trump, she's finally breaking her silence. And what she's revealing will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about their marriage. Stick around. This revelation is bigger than anyone could have imagined, and it's about to turn everything upside down. For years, Melania was known for her quiet, almost distant presence next to Donald Trump. While the world analyzed his every move, she stayed in the background, rarely giving anything away. She played the role of the supportive wife throughout his controversial presidency. But was it all just an act? Why did she stay so quiet? Was she truly on board with Donald's ambitions, or was something deeper going on behind the scenes? From the outside, she seemed to have it all: the wealth, the fame, the glamorous lifestyle. But behind the curtain, her world was constantly under a microscope. Observers couldn't help but notice how rarely she showed public affection toward Donald. She barely spoke about politics, and when she did, it often felt calculated or distant. Was their marriage really as solid as it looked, or was it just a carefully maintained public image? No matter how many rumors swirled, Melania kept her composure. As First Lady, she was frequently asked about her personal life, but she always managed to dodge the questions with vague, polished answers. To the world, she was the quiet, elegant partner, content to let Donald be the main event while she remained in the shadows. But over time, that silence started to feel less like a choice and more like a defense mechanism, a way to shield herself from the chaos that surrounded her husband. While Donald thrived on controversy and media attention, Melania seemed to want no part of it. Who could forget the infamous "I really don't care, do you?" jacket? That simple outfit choice turned into a massive debate. Was she making a statement of independence, or was it a cry for help? She never gave a clear answer, but one thing was obvious. Her silence only made people more curious. Now, after years of carefully maintaining her image, Melania is finally speaking up. The mask has started to slip and the truth about her marriage is beginning to unravel. But the big question remains, is she finally ready to tell all, or is this just another strategic move in a bigger game? To the outside world, the Trump family seemed like the definition of success. Donald and Melania, the power couple with money, fame, and political influence. They had the mansions, the private jets, and a son, Barron, who many saw as the future of the Trump legacy. But as time passed, cracks started to appear in their perfect image. Was their marriage truly built on love, or was it something else entirely? People often wondered why Melania stayed so reserved during Donald's time in office. While other First Ladies took on passionate causes and spoke out, she mostly stayed in the background. Sure, she had her own charity work, but it never made waves the way past First Ladies' initiatives had. It left people wondering, was she truly happy in her marriage, or was she simply playing a role? As the years went by, whispers grew louder that their relationship wasn't built on romance, but rather political strategy. Some even speculated that their marriage was more of a business arrangement, one that allowed them both to maintain their public personas while staying in the spotlight. Whatever the truth may be, one thing's for sure. Melania's latest revelation is about to change everything. The idea that Melania and Donald's marriage was more of a political arrangement than a romantic one had been floating around for years. Every time she stood quietly behind him at major events, the speculation only grew. Was she just another piece in his political strategy, or was there more to the story than anyone realized? Despite the ongoing whispers, the couple continued to present a united front. Melania remained by Donald's side throughout his re-election campaign, keeping up the image of a supportive wife. As First Lady, she had played the part well, always appearing poised and composed. But was she truly as content as she seemed? Or was that calm exterior hiding something much deeper? Then, out of nowhere, Melania shattered the illusion with a bombshell revelation, one no one saw coming. Her announcement turned everything upside down, leaving the world in shock. Had she finally decided to break her silence and reveal what had really been happening behind the scenes? On what seemed like an ordinary day, Melania made a statement that no one was prepared for. This wasn't just any announcement. It was a game changer that would forever alter how people viewed her marriage to Donald Trump. Every word she spoke was deliberate, filled with unspoken meaning, leaving people hanging on every sentence. What exactly was she trying to say? And why now? The timing couldn't have been more dramatic. After years of silence, Melania chose to speak out just as Donald was stepping back into the political spotlight, gearing up for another campaign. Was this her way of reclaiming her voice after years of being in his shadow? Or was there something much more personal at play? Whatever her reason, the shockwave was immediate. The moment her words hit the public, social media erupted. People were desperate to decode her message. Was she hinting at trouble in her marriage? Was she preparing to separate from Donald? Or was this a carefully planned move to shift the public's perception of her? Regardless of the intent, one thing was clear. Melania's statement had sent shockwaves through the political world. News outlets wasted no time jumping on the story, analyzing every single word, trying to uncover the true meaning behind her revelation. Political experts chimed in with their own theories, questioning what this could mean for Donald Trump's political future, and for Melania's place in it. As the dust began to settle, one big question remained. Was this the beginning of the end for their marriage, or was it all just another calculated political play? No matter which way you looked at it, Melania's announcement had grabbed the world's attention. Now, all eyes were on her and Donald. What would their next move be? Would they weather the storm together, or was this the breaking point that would finally tear them apart? After Melania's shocking revelation, the internet couldn't stop buzzing with speculation. People who once saw her as the picture of composure were now convinced that the carefully curated image of the Trump marriage had finally cracked. Almost instantly, theories of a possible divorce took over social media. Was Melania subtly signaling her decision to leave Donald? Was this the end of their marriage? As curiosity reached a fever pitch, people began digging into their past interactions, searching for any overlooked signs of tension. Had the clues been there all along? And if so, what had finally pushed Melania to break her silence now? The media, always hungry for a dramatic twist, wasted no time fueling the speculation. Some pointed out that Melania had always been notoriously private, rarely revealing much about her emotions or personal thoughts. But now, with this sudden revelation, many believed she was finally taking charge of her own story. Had she been unhappy in her marriage all along? Or was this just a calculated move to gain influence on her own terms? Could she be signaling that she was ready to step out of Donald's shadow and carve a new path for herself? Behind the scenes, the Trump family was forced to reassess their future. What did this mean for Melania's role in politics, and how would it impact Donald's career? Was she preparing to start a new chapter, one that no longer revolved around being the former First Lady? And what about Baron Trump? How would he navigate the growing public scrutiny surrounding his family? Questions piled up, and the public was left hanging, desperate for the next piece of the puzzle. As the media frenzy intensified, those close to the Trump family began hinting at the deeper reasons behind Melania's unexpected declaration. Was she simply tired of living in Donald's shadow? Was she positioning herself to create a new identity beyond being known as the First Lady? Now that she had broken her long-standing silence, speculation soared to new heights. Every glance, every word, every public appearance was analyzed under a microscope. Was this the start of a major transformation for Melania, one where she would finally step forward and claim her own power? Only time would reveal the truth, but one thing was certain. The world was hungry for more answers. Could this be the start of a political shakeup unlike anything seen before? Or was this just the calm before an even bigger storm? In the days following Melania's shocking announcement, the world watched her every move with intense curiosity. What once seemed like an unshakable marriage had now become the subject of endless speculation. Yet, despite the chaos swirling around her, Melania remained poised, almost too poised, as if this moment had been meticulously planned. It was as if she had been waiting for the perfect time to reveal her true thoughts, and now that the opportunity had come, she seized it with absolute precision. This led to an even bigger question. Was Melania quietly preparing for a political career of her own? Some began to wonder if she was laying the groundwork to become a major player in the political arena. After all, she had spent years standing beside Donald, enduring the intense scrutiny that came with being First Lady. But was she now ready to step into the spotlight for herself, with an agenda of her own? Political analysts started debating whether Melania had been playing the long game all along, waiting for the right moment to make her move. But what exactly was her endgame? Was this about her marriage, or was something much bigger at play? Some insiders whispered about the possibility that Melania had long harbored ambitions of stepping into the political world, not as a former First Lady, but as a leader in her own right. The timing of her statement only fueled the theories. Had she secretly resented the role of being a supporting figure and finally decided to take control of her own future? For years, her silence had been one of the biggest mysteries surrounding her. But now, with one carefully crafted announcement, everything had changed. In political circles, the speculation didn't stop there. Conversations behind closed doors hinted at the idea of Melania launching her own campaign in the future. Could she follow in the footsteps of other former First Ladies, using her platform to champion a cause of her own? Or was her statement simply a way to step away from the public eye altogether? Whatever the truth, one thing was undeniable. Melania Trump was no longer content to be a quiet figure in the background. She was ready to make her move, and the world was watching. The suspense surrounding Melania's next move only continued to intensify. Would she remain by Donald's side, or was she preparing to carve her own path toward power? The uncertainty surrounding their future only fueled more questions, and the answers remained frustratingly out of reach. As the media continued to churn out theories, the relationship between Melania and Donald grew more complicated. What once appeared to be a solid partnership was now under relentless scrutiny. Donald's political ambitions remained at the forefront, but Melania seemed to be subtly distancing herself, claiming space that had never been hers before. This wasn't just about marriage anymore. It was about influence, control, and the delicate balance of power within their dynamic. Melania's announcement had sent shockwaves through the political world, and now all eyes were on Donald. How would he respond? Would he continue down his chosen political path as if nothing had changed? Or would he shift his strategy in response to his wife's newfound independence? The tension between them only grew as people debated whether this was a temporary disagreement or the start of a deeper divide. What was undeniable, however, was that Melania had shattered the image of the quiet, reserved wife standing in the background. She had revealed a side of herself the world had rarely seen, one that was determined, deliberate, and in control. Whether she intended to step into a new political role or simply assert herself in the public sphere, one thing was clear. She was no longer a passive participant in the Trump narrative. She was a force in her own right, and that changed everything. The aftermath of her statement continued to ripple across the media, raising even more questions. Was Donald's political future now uncertain? Would this public tension weaken his influence, or would it ultimately be dismissed as another moment of drama? Could Melania and Donald continue working as a political team, or were they destined to take separate paths both personally and professionally? The speculation only grew stronger as the world watched, waiting for the next move. Melania's statement was more than just a personal revelation. It was a calculated move that had everyone questioning the future of the Trump family. Would they weather this storm together? Or was this the first step toward an entirely new chapter, one where they went their separate ways? With the media still buzzing, one question overshadowed everything else. What did this mean for Donald Trump's political future? For years, Donald and Melania had been a striking duo, with Melania standing beside him through the highs and lows of his presidency and beyond. But now, with her sudden willingness to speak out, people couldn't help but wonder what impact this would have on the Trump family's long-term plans. Had Melania finally decided to step away from the chaos of politics? Was she tired of playing the supporting role while Donald remained the center of attention? Or was there an even bigger plan at play, one where she stepped into a more active role as a public figure? Some speculated that this could be the beginning of an entirely new political movement, one where Melania took charge of her own narrative, separate from her husband's ambitions. Others believed she wasn't looking to enter politics herself, but was instead sending a very clear message. She would no longer be silent while Donald's career dictated the course of their lives. With each passing day, the speculation only grew. Political analysts pored over every word of her statement, searching for hidden messages or unspoken truths. Was this a turning point for Melania Trump, or simply another chapter in the ever-unfolding drama of the Trump dynasty? The world was left waiting, watching, and wondering what would come next. Was this a quiet signal of bigger things to come, or was it simply a way to stir attention at a crucial moment? As Donald Trump's political journey continued, Melania's role seemed more significant than ever. Was she laying the groundwork to be a central figure in the next phase of the Trump legacy, or was she crafting her exit strategy, preparing to step away from politics for good? As the days went on, the media's fascination with Melania's announcement only grew stronger. Every move she made was analyzed and dissected, with reporters and political commentators eagerly trying to predict her next step. Would she fade back into the background, as she had so often before, or would this be the moment where she truly asserted herself as a power player? The Trump family has always been at the heart of political spectacle, but Melania's sudden shift in public demeanor has pushed her to the forefront like never before. For years, she played the role of the quiet, enigmatic partner, rarely offering personal insight while Donald commanded the spotlight. But now, with her recent statement, the world couldn't help but wonder. Was Melania finally breaking free from the role that had been assigned to her? Had she grown weary of standing in Donald's shadow, watching his political ambitions dictate the course of their lives? Was this her declaration of independence, a sign that she was ready to build something for herself, outside of the Trump name? Whatever the motivation behind her statement, one thing was undeniable. Melania had the world's attention, and this time she wasn't being ignored. With endless speculation surrounding her next move, the biggest question remained unanswered. Was this the beginning of a new political era for Melania Trump? Would she step forward and take an active role in shaping her own destiny? Or was this merely a fleeting moment of rebellion before settling back into her usual reserved persona? The world watched with bated breath, waiting to see whether she would continue to redefine herself or retreat from the public eye once again. Melania's words had sent shockwaves through the political landscape, leaving many to wonder just how much the Trump family dynamic was shifting behind closed doors. What had once seemed like a predictable, controlled relationship had now evolved into something far more intriguing and unpredictable. Whether this transformation was driven by personal growth or a calculated political strategy, one thing was for certain: Melania Trump was no longer content to remain a silent figure in the background. As political analysts and media outlets picked apart her statement, attempting to decipher its deeper meaning, the only certainty was that Melania's future remained an open-ended question. Would she emerge as a political force in her own right, taking charge in ways no one expected? Or would she ultimately retreat, allowing the storm to pass while resuming her role as the ever-mysterious former First Lady? No matter what lies ahead, one thing is clear: Melania Trump is no longer the quiet bystander in the Trump story. Whether she is preparing to wield her own influence or simply making her stance known, she has taken control of her own narrative. The world is paying attention, and every step she takes from here on out will be watched more closely than ever before.